The snow was falling gently over downtown Toronto, soft flakes blanketing the city in a hushed silver calm. Inside the emergency wing of Queen's Medical Center, the fluorescent lights buzzed faintly, and the scent of antiseptic lingered in the air. Dr. Aidan Walsh, just 28 and freshly out of his surgical residency, tightened his gloves and exhaled deeply. It had been a long night and he wasn't expecting another critical case before dawn, but then they wheeled her in. 35-year-old female, name's Eleanor Hartley, the paramedic announced. Billionaire real estate mogul, found unresponsive in her penthouse suite. Possible opioid overdose. She's in a coma but stable. Aidan blinked. He'd heard the name before. Eleanor Hartley was one of the most talked-about figures in the city. Glamorous, powerful, and notoriously private. Her face had been on countless magazine covers, always perfectly poised. Now she lay motionless, her long auburn hair fanned out across the hospital gurney, her skin pale against the white sheets. She also has advanced internal hemorrhoids, the attending nurse added. Complicated and bleeding. Surgeon on call's unavailable. You up for this? Aidan hesitated. Performing a hemorrhoidectomy on a comatose. VIP wasn't the kind of situation they taught in med school, but someone had to do it. And he had assisted in this type of procedure during his rotations. He nodded. Get her prepped. Over the next hour, Aidan worked with meticulous focus. He'd read that Eleanor was a perfectionist, someone who hated weakness. If she ever woke up, she wouldn't want to remember this. Still, his hands moved carefully, stitching and securing with utmost respect and professionalism. As he sutured the final area, a strange sensation settled over him. He wasn't sure what it was, guilt perhaps, or awe. He glanced at her face. It was serene, almost as if she were simply asleep. A part of him wanted to speak, to say something human, something kind, but he shook it off. 2 days passed. Eleanor remained unresponsive in the ICU. Her vitals were steady, but there was no sign of consciousness. Aidan made a point to check on her every evening after rounds. There was something about her case that kept pulling him back. On the fourth night, he sat by her bed, adjusting the IV lines and checking her dressings. He paused and, without quite knowing why, said softly, You're going to wake up. You don't know me, but I hope you do. Not because you're famous, but because no one should stay asleep forever. And just like that, her eyelids fluttered. Aidan froze. Her eyes opened slightly, unfocused but undeniably conscious. The monitor's beeping spiked and nurses rushed in. He stepped back, heart racing. She's waking up, one nurse confirmed. My God, after almost a week. Eleanor's recovery was slow but steady. It was a week before she could speak and 2 before she could sit up. Through it all, Aidan remained professionally distant but curious. He wasn't part of her primary care team anymore, but he still stopped by, sometimes just to ask how she was feeling, sometimes just to see her. You're the one who operated on me? She asked one day, her voice husky. Yes, he answered simply. There wasn't anyone else available. She stared at him. You didn't have to do it. I'm a doctor, he replied. It's my job. She looked away then, a flicker of vulnerability in her eyes. I didn't expect to wake up. You did, he said gently. And you're healing well. She didn't respond, but something shifted in her expression. From that day, she began asking for him when he didn't come. The hospital buzzed with whispers. Eleanor Hartley, the untouchable queen of Toronto's skyline, was forming a bond with a young surgeon from the suburbs. It wasn't love, not yet, but it was something unspoken. A connection formed in the quiet hours, between morphine doses and blood pressure readings. Eleanor asked about him. his background, his ambitions, his family. "I grew up in Scarborough," he told her one morning. "Mom was a nurse. Dad passed away when I was 16. We didn't have much, but she made sure I got through school." She nodded, absorbing every word. "And why surgery? Because it saves people quickly. You go in, you fix, you leave. No slow guessing games. I like clarity." "I hate hospitals," she murmured. "But you make it tolerable." Aiden chuckled softly. "That's a compliment, I guess." 3 weeks passed. She was discharged quietly, under heavy media blackout. A black car waited for her outside the hospital. Before stepping in, she turned to Aiden. "You gave me my life back. Not just by fixing me, but by believing I wasn't done yet." He nodded. "You don't owe me anything." "I know," she said. "But I'd still like to see you again." He hesitated, then smiled. "You know where to find me." They didn't talk for 2 months after that. Aiden went back to his rotations. Dealing with traumas, gallbladders, appendectomies. Life moved forward. But something lingered. An emptiness. A silence he hadn't felt before. Then one day a letter arrived at the hospital for him. No return address. Inside was a note in graceful handwriting. "I bought an old building in Kensington Market, turning it into a clinic for underprivileged families. Thought you might want to run it." Underneath was an address and her signature, Eleanor. He visited the site that weekend. The building was dusty but beautiful, full of light and promise. She was there waiting for him. "I thought you hated hospitals," he said. "I do, but I don't hate people who care." They walked the halls together, and for the first time, Eleanor talked about her overdose, about the pressure, the loneliness, the need to escape. "I didn't want to die," she admitted, "but I didn't want to keep pretending to be someone I'm not." "You don't have to," Aiden said quietly. "Not anymore." From that day, they worked side by side. Eleanor handled the finances, Aiden the medicine. The clinic opened 6 months later. It wasn't glamorous, but it was real, and somewhere between the echo of their steps, through empty corridors and the laughter of children in the waiting room, something more bloomed. Not love at first sight, but a slow, careful unfolding. One evening, while locking up, Eleanor turned to him. "You were the first person in years who saw me. Not as a headline, not as a brand, just as me." Aiden looked at her, his gaze steady. "And I liked what I saw." They stood in silence as the last light of sunset bathed the city. And in that moment, 2 unlikely souls, one who had stitched wounds, the other who had carried them, found healing in each other. Not in a hospital, not in wealth, but in choosing to stay when it would have been easier to walk away.